man, it started already. Got nothing else to drink. Alright, let me get to it. David Haye versus Vladimir Klitschko. We're finally here. And what we need to do right now is assess the fight. I've heard about 1,000 different remedies from both sides of what they're saying they're going to do, and how it's not going to be the same. It's going to be the same. Eventually, fighters go back to what they know. And what David Haye needs to do is to be consistent in what he's been doing in the past. And don't let Vladimir Klitschko lean on him, because that's the strategy for fighting a guy that's that small, gets low, comes in, he's going to want to go to the body. And what Haye's going to do is fight southpaw to try to confuse Vladimir Klitschko, which Vladimir is going to just back up, keep his jab out, move around, and try to shoot a right hand. Because David Haye is susceptible to right hands. He has no defense for it whatsoever. But his relentlessness should get him close enough to land his right hand on on Klitschko. By showing him no respect, he should be able to impose his will on him. I think Haye might get knocked down early and get up and still fight a more competitive fight once he gets up, if he gets dropped. I think if Klitschko gets dropped, that's it. He's not going to survive. But if Haye gets knocked down, I think he might be able to survive. Because Vladimir Klitschko has been able to fight in the later rounds due to the pace he's been able to fight at. He's been fighting guys who just stand still and try to outthink themselves, and normally he gets to get off first and pretty much control the tempo of the fight. But against David Haye, Haye's going to make him back up. He's not going to be able to plant his feet. His feet's going to be flat, and that's when Haye's going to try to counter over the jab or his extension of his arm. He's going to try to counter that and come over the top with his right hand and get in close. And he will leap sometimes off his feet to get near somebody. So David Haye wants to be the bully, and that's the guy that needs to show up. You don't need to see a David Haye that's going to be thinking too much. That's a bad idea for him. He doesn't need to be thinking a lot while he's in the ring, because he can outthink himself and just be standing there getting right hands thrown across your head. What Vladimir Klitschko is going to probably do, it's going to be a close fight. I think it's going to go probably to distance. But Haye would definitely have to drop Klitschko, I think, or at least get his respect in this fight. But I think he could still win a decision, because in Germany they still would go for the aggressor rather than a guy who's sitting there just trying to counter and go backwards, because Klitschko's not from Germany. So I think he has a better chance in that aspect of getting a great decision. Haye does. But in the sport of boxing, I'm telling you, it's really tricky. You never can tell, but this is why the fights are made. It takes nothing away from Klitschko. He's really been a good champion. I mean, he's fought the guys that they had in front of him. It's not his fault that most of them weren't competitive, but some of them were. And he did what he was supposed to do with guys like that. He got them out of there. He didn't take a lot of punishment, and it's not his fault. The heavyweight division is what it is right now. But the same thing we're saying for him and making allowances for Klitschko, there's a lot of allowances that should have been made for Roy Jones Jr. It wasn't his fault. He was so talented in a division that was average. The guys were just average. He went up to fight those guys where Bernard Hopkins got a lot of praise for milking a dead division. I mean, the middleweight division was drained. All those guys had moved up, got older, and moved up to what was that? Not light heavyweight, but super middleweight. And Bernard didn't even want to fight those guys. He said, "I'm gonna stay here and fight these middleweights that's coming up. These guys who are 154 or 147 pounds trying to come up to 160. So he made his career off that. He fought Trinidad, De La Hoya, all these little guys, these little champions, these smaller guys. He knew he was bigger, but he was keeping himself at 160 pounds so he could break Hagler's record. So that was his whole game plan, so he can, you know, milk that division. But all the guys that he should have been fighting, the Eric Harding and those guys that all were dominating up there. He didn't fight Taro when he was supposed to. But that's a whole nother subject. I don't want to get on Bernard Hopkins' career because people will be like, wait, that's B-Hop. But I know what B-Hop was. I know what he did. It was very smart of him to do what he did. But I'm not impressed with Bernard Hopkins. I'm just not. Never been impressed with Bernard Hopkins at all. Except for when he beat Kelly Pavlik, but stylistically he was supposed to be Kelly Pavlik. I mean, Kelly Pavlik's a 1-2 fighter. They put him in a ring with guys who were 1-2 fighters. They put him in a ring with some guy that had some experience and knew how to fight. Guys who throw 1-2 punches and step to the side and give them slight movement. That's what happens. So, I'm out.